that have all these quotes into our hearing record, and we'll provide them to you. Thank you.
Objection. Senator Marshall, you recognize for your questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Gary, I think it's also important to point out a couple of things, and one is that you've received $60 million of grants from the NIH over the years, and you have your own vaccine company. And that obviously is a bit of a conflict of interest, and I don't think the scientific world really agrees with your conclusion that it stood up to the test of times. I think the Proximal Origin article is literally an editorial, an opinion page. But unfortunately, our intelligence community took it as the gospel. I think it's also interesting to me that within the scientific community, that two agencies, the Department of Energy and FBI, said they lean towards a lab leak origin of this. That's public knowledge. And that they had the scientists to actually understand what the heck we're talking about. They're realizing that there's no way that nature could have made this virus. There's so many things wrong with your theory, and all you come back to is, oh, it started in the wet market, but you've yet to show us an intermediate host. You've yet to show us progenitor species. All the farms that farm these animals outside of the market, how many of those animals were positive? I think the answer is none. I want to go down this OD&I route for just a second. It's a fact that the OD&I has not complied with the law. Congress has passed legislation to declassify information related to COVID origins. OD&I has not complied. Leaving OD&I in charge ensures a total monitoring control of the information, the misinformation. That's why we have to move this investigation outside of the OD&I. Additionally, it's a fact that our current grant research process hides the ultimate beneficiaries of U.S. grant research and bypasses all export controls. All of that has to be changed. This is why we need a 9/11 style investigation outside of cameras, outside of the politics here on Capitol Hill, to find out where this virus came from, what did the U.S. do to contribute, and how do we keep this from happening again. Dr. Quay, I want to go back to some line of question we were going down earlier, that just the research being done in Wuhan, China. I think that there's a naivety upon Americans to think that the Chinese military is in one place doing research and the WIV is doing research and the CCP is not involved. What's it like to work in labs in Wuhan and the interaction between the CCP and those entities? What does their day usually start with?
Well, I think one of the telling ways to see that is without visiting them is to go through the minutes of laboratory meetings, which you can get a hold of. They're in Chinese. You can translate them. And unlike laboratory meetings in the U.S., which are pretty much you start presenting your data, you challenge your data and that, they start with a recitation of what the Communist Party's missions are with respect to their position in the world and the role of their research, and it goes down a litany. And these are by Communist Party members who are part of every lab meeting present, and then they finally start talking about the research into the lab, but not at the beginning.
And then the military takes over the WIV in December as well to promote the cover-up. What is the interaction between the Chinese military and the WIV scientists?
Well, so the woman that took over was the one that was most responsible for the response to the SARS-1. And interestingly, if you look at the closest viruses to SARS-CoV-2, so you got RITG13, which is inside the WIV. You've got the Banel viruses from Laos. We know WIV is sampling there. The next one down are two viruses that were collected by the PLA Army and began studying in 2017. The S2 region of the spike protein is almost identical to those viruses that were originally collected by the PLA Army. The first genetic cluster of patients that had both lineage A, lineage B, were in the PLA hospital 3 kilometers from the WIV.
Okay. You know, I think we've debated back and forth about the benefits and risk of viral gain-of-function research, and I'm just going to say viral manipulation, so we don't have to worry about your silly definitions that are used to obscure what's really happening here. I'm going to ask each one of you, do you feel comfortable funding any type of viral manipulation research with foreign entities that are hostile towards America, like the CCP? Dr. Ebright?
I think there are strong reasons for international collaboration in science with both allied nations and adversary nations. However, there's a line that never should be crossed, and that is research that has weapons implications. And research on discovery and enhancement of bioweapons agents, like the research on SARS viruses in Wuhan, most surely is an example of such research.
I'd like to go through the questions, but I think I should be respectful of everyone's time, and thank you so much, Chairman, for giving us the second round. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Marshall. One